Okay. So as usual, you know that the name of the subject is Advanced Web Technologies. What is the name of our subject? The name of our subject is Advanced Web Technologies. And today we are going to discuss basics of PHP. What are the various basics of PHP? How PHP will become? What are its scope? Okay. So the first one is PHP is a scripting language that was originally designed for web development to produce dynamic web pages. Basically, first of all, he wants to say that PHP is a scripting language. Okay, why it is used? It is used for web development. With the help of PHP, you can develop various kinds of websites, and it is also made or develop dynamic web pages. There are basically two types of web pages are available. The first one is static, and the second one is dynamic. So PHP is basically used for dynamic web pages. Dynamic web pages are the web pages which are not static or which are not fixed. They are going to change at the time. That's why it is called dynamic web pages. Okay. So the first one is PHP is a scripting language that was originally designed for web development to produce dynamic web pages. And the second one is for this purpose, PHP code is embedded into HTML. This is that for web development, you know that HTML is basically the front end. HTML is basically used for front end. Without HTML, you can't develop any website. If you have no knowledge about HTML, then you are not able to develop any front end of the website. If you are going to use Python, C++, C, Java, the front end of any website is developed with the help of HTML. So you have proper knowledge about HTML, or you have proper knowledge about basics of HTML. What are the tags? How many tags? And what are the working of tags are in HTML. After that, the original name of the PHP is personal homepage. Okay, but it is known as hypertext preprocessor. The PHP hypertext preprocessor PHP is a programming language that allows web developers to create dynamic content that interact with databases. PHP is basically used for developing web pages, web-based software application. He says that PHP basically stands for Hypertext Preprocessor. It is a kind of programming language that allows you or allows web developers to create dynamic content. It is not allow you to create static content. It allows developer to create dynamic content which is going to change time to time and that interact with databases. After that, PHP is basically used for developing web-based software application. With the help of PHP, you can develop or you can create web-based software or any type of application or any type of website. PHP is basically very popular as compared to other language. Okay, so the future of the PHP is very vast. Basically, you can say that if we talk about the history of the PHP, then PHP was introduced in 1994. Okay, PHP was introduced in 1994, but Java is introduced in 1991. So they both are same timing. After that, we are going to next slide, which is brief history. PHP is a general purpose scripting language geared towards web development. It was originally created by Danish Canadian programmer Rasmus Ladorf in 1994. PHP originally stood for Personal Homepage or Forms Interpreter. The name Personal Homepage Forms Interpreter was later shortened to PHP/FI and eventually renamed to represent PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. Okay. So the first one is why PHP is used. PHP is basically used for scripting language for the web development. You can create a dynamic website with the help of PHP. You can create a interactive website with the help of PHP. So basically, PHP is used for web development. You can create various or different type of websites with the help of PHP. After that, PHP was originally created or developed by, there was a programmer, or you can say that developer, whose name is Rasmus Ladorf. Okay, he was a Canadian programmer whose name is Rasmus Ladorf. PHP was created in 1994. So you can say that the birth date of PHP is 1994. After that, PHP originally stood for Personal Homepage slash Forms Interpreter. Basically, in today's world, the name of the PHP is Hypertext Preprocessor. But the original name, the first name of the PHP is Personal Homepage slash Forms Interpreter. The name Personal Homepage slash Forms Interpreter was later shortened to PHP slash FI. He says that the name Personal Homepage slash Forms Interpreter was later shortened. So this is a short form of Personal Homepage slash Forms Interpreter to PHP slash FI and eventually renamed to represent PHP Hypertext Text Preprocessor. Previously or older in previous days, the PHP is known as Personal Homepage slash Forms Interpreter. But in now these days, PHP is called Hypertext Preprocessor. Okay, PHP is called as Hypertext Preprocessor. The first commercial version of the PHP was released in 1995. The first commercial version. The first commercial version of PHP was released in 1995, and after that the second version 2.0 released in 1997. Now near about 8 version of PHP is used. Okay, so this is all about history of PHP. What are the key points of history? The first one is PHP is basically used for web development. It is also called server-side or scripting language. After that, PHP was developed or created by Erasmus Lador in 1994, who was a Canadian programmer. Or after that, the original name of the PHP is Personal Homepage slash Forms Interpreter. Now these days, PHP is called Hypertext Preprocessor. The first version of commercial PHP was released in 1995. Commercial version means the version which is used for develop the software or develop the web applications. Okay. And after that, there are time to time updation was released. After that, second version which is come in 1997. Now the 8.0 or 8.2 version is used. Okay. So this is all about history of PHP. Now after that, PHP 3 will come. So PHP 3 will created by Andy Goodmans and Zeev Suraski. PHP 3.0 released in 1998. After that, PHP 4.4 released in 2005. Basically, PHP 2 and PHP 1 and PHP 2 was created by Rasmus Lador, who was a Canadian programmer. After that, PHP 3 is used. So who create the PHP 3? Andy Goodmans and Zeev Suraski. After that, PHP 3.0 released in 1998. And after that, the next version or updated version of PHP, which is 4.4, was released in 2005. So this is all about PHP 3. After that, PHP 5 will come in the market. So what is in the PHP 5? Object orientation, error handling, and XML. So what new comes in the PHP 5? The object orientation will become, you can handle error as compared to PHP a previous version, and after that it is also support XML. Okay, so what is in the PHP 5? The first one is new object model. The new object model is introduced. Okay, after that PHP 5.0 released in 2004. Okay, skip. Next is PHP 5.3 released in 2009. So this is all about PHP 5. Right? In PHP 5, the new object model was introduced. PHP 5.0 released in 2004, and the last one is PHP 5.3 released in 2009. So these are the various versions of PHP which was time to time introduced as with the help of new updation. So, but you should already know before you continue, you should have a basic understanding of the following: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. HTML basically stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Why HTML is important? Because I previously told you that HTML is basically a base of every development. Okay, without a proper knowledge of HTML, you are not able to create any website, or you are not able to create any front end of the website. So if you want to become a good developer, or you want to become a GUI, graphical user interface developer, then you have proper knowledge about HTML. You should have proper knowledge about basics of HTML. What are various tags? Either it is body tag, head tag, BR tag, or any tag which we are going to use in the HTML. Without proper knowledge of HTML, you can't able to become a developer. After that, the next thing is CSS. CSS basically stands for cascading style sheets. So what is CSS? CSS is basically used for, it is basically a style sheet which are going to use for make the website interactive. Okay, if you want that your website become interactive, then you have used various kinds of CSS sheets. Basically, CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, and after that paper or in other media. Why CSS is used? CSS basically helps us in how our elements of our website are displayed on screen. Either it is on paper or on the screen or other media channel you have used. After that, CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. Okay, basically CSS saves us a lot of work. It is time saving process. It is just an inbuilt style sheets which you have picked from the internet and you have to apply on your website. Just you have no issue of coding. You just have to edit few things, and your website is going to interactive, and it is look interactive. Okay, and the last one is external style sheets are stored in CSS files. He says that external style sheets are stored in CSS file. There are lots of types of CSS are available which you can use for your website. So this is all about CSS. There are basically three types of CSS are available. The first one is inline CSS. Second one is internal or embedded CSS. And the last one is external CSS. So what is in the internal CSS? Internal CSS contains the CSS property in the body section attached with element is known as inline CSS. Basically, you can say that the internal CSS is that which is used in the body section or in the body tags. You have just attached in the body section and it is ready to work. This kind of style is specified within an HTML tag using the style attribute. So after that, second one is internal or embedded CSS. So what is in the internal or embedded CSS? Basically, this can be used when a single HTML document must be styled uniquely. When internal or embedded CSS will be used at that time when you are going to style or you are going to decorate your website a single HTML web page. At that time, we are going to use internal or embedded CSS. The CSS rule set should be within the HTML file in the head section, i.e., the CSS is embedded within the HTML file. You just have to embed the CSS file with your HTML file. This is all about internal or embedded CSS. After that, the next one is external CSS. External CSS contains separate CSS file which contains only style property with the help of tag attributes, for example, class, ID, heading, etc. Basically, you can say that what is external CSS? External CSS contains what things? It contains only style property with the help of tag attribute. You have to use various tags for your style property. Okay. After that, the next thing is CSS property written in a separate file with the .css extension. In external CSS, you have to make a separate file of your CSS and you have to give them extension that is .css property written within a separate file with .css extension and should be linked to the HTML document using link tab. You have to create the CSS file with .css extension and you have to connect this extension with the HTML file. For that link, we are going to use link tag. Okay, this is how you can connect your external CSS with the HTML file or any kind of document. This is this means that for each element, style can be set only once and that will be applied across web pages. Now, external CSS is basically apply or used for all web pages. If you want that all the text boxes you have used 10 text box, you have 10 web pages and there are text boxes in your every web pages and you want that the style of the text boxes will become same. For that you have to make an external CSS file and you have to connect it with the HTML page and your all HTML file and your all website or all web pages are becoming popular or interactive. Okay, so this is all about CSS. After discussion of CSS, we are next move forward to the JavaScript. So JavaScript is basically a programming language. The first one thing is HTML is not a programming language. Okay, if anyone asks you that HTML is a programming language, that is wrong. HTML is not a programming language. It is used for the GUI development. Okay, HTML is not a programming language. The next thing is JavaScript. JavaScript is most popular programming language. JavaScript script is a programming language. JavaScript basically you can say that it is easy to learn. Why? How JavaScript is used or what are the working of JavaScript? JavaScript basically is a text-based programming language used both on the client and server side. Now, there's a difference between PHP and JavaScript. PHP is a server-side programming language, but JavaScript is both. It is server-side as well as client-side programming language and it allows you to make web pages interactive. JavaScript allows you to make web pages interactive, where HTML and CSS are languages that give structure and style to web pages. JavaScript give web pages interactive element. JavaScript basically provide you interactive element. It is basically used for give the website interactive look. If you want that your website is going to look interactive or attractive, then you have used JavaScript. So this is all about JavaScript. JavaScript is basically a programming language that is used basically for the development or make the website interactive. Okay, so this is all about JavaScript. The first one is HTML, second is CSS and JavaScript. You have, if you want that you're going to expert or master in PHP, then you have proper knowledge or basic knowledge about HTML, CSS. And the last one is JavaScript. Okay, now after discussion of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, we are coming forward to the PHP. What is PHP? What are the base of PHP? How PHP could become popular? Okay, so the first one is PHP is an acronym for PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. PHP is a widely used open source scripting language. PHP The first one is PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor, or its old or previous full form is or full name is Personal Home Page. Okay, now its name is Hypertext Preprocessor. It is widely used open source scripting language. Okay, now we are going to discuss what is open source. There are two types of language are available. Okay, so now we are going to discuss what is open source programming language, because C, C++ is C++ is open source programming language, as well as Java is programming language. Okay, now we are going to discuss what is open source programming language. What is open source programming language? It refers to a programming language that falls within the parameters of open source protocol. This basically means that the language is not proprietary and with certain provisions can be modified or built upon in a manner that is open to public, which means that if you want to use PHP, then you have no need to pay the money. You just have to download it from the website, and after that you have to use it. But there are so many protocol, or you can say that protocols are defined which you have to follow. And why it is open source? Because its source code and its source code are open and easy to access. Okay, the language must be freely distributed. The PHP language is freely distributed. After that, the next thing is PHP scripts are executed on the server. PHP language is basically executed on the server. There are two types of server. The first one is application server and the second one is web server. And you people are client. How PHP are server side scripting language. This is we are going to discuss in the next slides. How PHP are its server side scripting language, or how it perform tasks. After that, source code not visible by client. The source code, or you can say that the program of the PHP file is not visible to the client. What is visible to you? It is only the output. The output is visible to you. Okay. PHP is free to download and use. One of the main benefit, or one of the biggest advantages of PHP is it is free and e download to use. You just have to go to the Google or on the internet and you have to write PHP, and then after that you have to download it a suitable version, and you have to set up in your system, and after that it is ready to use. There is no need to pay the money. Okay, you just have to download it free from the internet, and after that you have to use it. So this is all about PHP. What is PHP? Why it has become popular? So the first one is PHP is a hypertext preprocessor language. It is open source scripting language because the source code of the PHP is easily available and accessible. Next one is PHP is executed on the server, or we can say that PHP is a server-side programming language. After that, the next one is source code not visible by client, which means that the code or the program that you write is not visible to the client. The thing which is visible to the client is output, which is going to change time by time. If you open the output one first time, then the output will be another, which means it's look is another, but if you open it on the second time, then it will change. That's why it is called dynamic web pages, or PHP is called a dynamic website. After that, PHP is free to download and use, which means that you have to go to the Google and you have just to write PHP, and you have to download the suitable version and install it in your system, and you are able to use it. There is no query or no money or no other thing you have to pay. So this is all about PHP. So what is a PHP file? Basically, PHP files can contain text, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP code. What is in the PHP file? There is a lots of things in the PHP file. The first one is text. What's the text you are going to return? After that, HTML file, the tags or the GUI interface of the PHP file. After that, CSS cascading style sheets were also included in your PHP file. After that, JavaScript, the program of the JavaScript is also written in the PHP file. And the last one is the PHP code, the PHP code which you want to execute really. These things are included in your PHP file: text, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP code. If someone asks you what is in your PHP file, then you can ask that there is a text in your PHP file, there is HTML in your PHP file, it also contains CSS or cascading style sheets, it also contains JavaScript language, and the last one is PHP code itself, the program which you want to execute. For example, it is a add two number program, or Fibonacci series you want to print, or you want to find a pictorial of any number. So this this is written in the PHP code. So these things are contained by the PHP file. After that, the next thing is PHP code are executed on the server, and the result is returned to the browser as plain HTML. He says that PHP is basically, I previously told you that, is executed on the server. It does not executed on the web browser. So there are two things. The first one is web browser, and the second one is web server. The web browser, the basic or simple example of the web browser is your Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer. These are called web browser. But what is web server? It is basically installed on the server side. Okay. When you send any request, for example, just a minute. For example, this is client. Okay. This is client. This is internet. Okay. And this is called server. Okay. So the first one is client, second is internet, and the last one is server. Okay. Now, what you are client, you are going to send the request to the with the help of internet, and after that, that request is going to the server. For example, you have written on the Google that www.facebook.com. So you are client, you are going here to write Facebook fb.com. Okay, and after that on internet you have written. Okay, and with the help of internet, that request is gone to the server, and it is find that there is a extension or there is any web page that is available with the name of FB is available or not. If it is available, then the result is going to show in front of you, and if the result is not visible, then it is say that the web page is not available. So this is called server side language. For example, you have to write or you have to execute your code on the server side programming or server side. You are client, basically you know that when you write anything on the internet, you are client, and you are going to send the request to the internet that you have to find this thing. Okay, so the code of the PHP is executed on the server, and the result is returned to the browser as plain HTML. He says that the code you have written in the PHP are executed on the server. It is run or execute on the server, and the result which is come to you is come into you up in the form of plain HTML file. So this is a PHP file contained. After that, PHP files have extension .php. The what is extension? Extension is basically an address. Okay. For example, how we know that you are what is, who you are with the help of your name. So how we know that which programming language this program contains? So with the help of extension, we have to know about the program. So the extension of PHP is .php, the extension of C is .c, and the extension of C++ is .cpp. So every language has contained its own extension. For example, .NET or ASP, the extension of ASP is .aspx. So every language contains its own extension. Extension plays an important role. So you have proper knowledge about the extension, that which language contains which extension. So this is all about PHP file. The first thing is it contains text HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP code. After that, the PHP code is executed on the server, and the result is returned to the browser as plain HTML file. After that, the extension of PHP is .php. The next one is what you can do with the help of PHP. So the first one is, so these are the advantages of the PHP, or you can say that these are the uses of PHP. You can do these things with the help of PHP. The first one is PHP can generate dynamic page content. The first thing I previously told you, that PHP can generate dynamic page content. It does not contain static page. The the result, or the web pages are developed by PHP are going to be dynamic. It is going to change time by time. After that, the next thing is PHP can create, open, read, write, delete, and close files on the server. In this, say that with the help of PHP, you can create a file, you can open a previous file, you can read data from the file, you can write into the existing file, or you are going to delete the content from the existing file, or you are also able to delete the file. And the last one is you are able to close files on the server. So these are the various operations are performed with the help of PHP: create, open, read, write, delete, and close file. So these are the basic operations which are performed with the help of PHP. After that, the next thing is PHP can collect form data. He says that with the help of PHP, you are able to collect data from various things. After that, the next thing is PHP can send and receive cookies. We say that with the help of PHP, you are able to send and receive cookies. Okay. The next thing is PHP can add, delete, modify data in your database. Says that with the help of PHP, you are able to add data in your database. You are able to delete data from your database, or you are able to modify data from your database. After that, the next thing is PHP can use to control user access. With the help of PHP, you are able to control the access of the user. It is up to you, or up to the admin, that what access he wants to give to the user. Either he gives to the write access, or he gives to him to read access, or any access which he wants to give. After that, PHP can encrypt data. So this is one of the basic advantage of PHP. Encrypt means it provides you a basic security layer. So what is encryption? Basically, encryption is a means of securing digital data using one or more mathematical techniques. Basically, encryption is you are going to protect your data with the help of various mathematical techniques. There are lots of algorithm or mathematical techniques are available. With the help of that techniques, or with the help of that data, with the help of that algorithm, you are able, or you are going to protect your data from the hacker. So this is one of the biggest advantage of PHP. In PHP, the data is going to be encrypted. So this is all about PHP. नाउ मैं अभी